All right, so we're live now. A very good evening and welcome to Blockchain eWeekend, everyone. Blockchain eWeekend is this time powered by Tezos India, and a big thank you to our media partners, CoinCrunch India, Blockmanity, and CoinPost. Hi, I'm Sumidha, and I'll be your host for the evening. I hope you guys can hear me. A big thumbs up if you guys can do that. Great. So let me just quickly introduce you to the three speakers that we have today. First of all, we have Om Malviya here. He's the co-founder of Tezos and director at Tezos India. He's been in the ecosystem for over 5 to 6 years now. And next up we have here is Tarusha Mittal. Tarusha, you can say hi to the audience. Great. Tarusha is the COO and co-founder at Oropocket. We have a lot of new things coming up at Tezos and Oropocket. So we'll be discussing Oropocket and Tezos in detail today. And a big thank you for Tushar coming up today, giving so much time to us. Tushar is the co-founder and CEO at Persistence. Welcome, Tushar.
Thank you for having us.
Most welcome. So, Tarusha, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can
All
you hear
right,
me now?
perfect.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's much better. Great. So obviously we're entering a new world of financing, seeing a lot of, growth and adoption by, past 5 to 6 months. So let's hear what Tarusha has to say and what's new happening at Oro Pocket as well with the open DeFi and the new DeFi system.
Thank you so much. I'll give a short and I'll keep it brief as to my introduction, and then I will talk about the introduction for DeFi. I've prepared something very introductory, something basic. I think that would resonate with everybody. So, hi everybody. I'm Tarusha. I'm the co-founder of Oro Pocket, which is the user interface to Open DeFi. Oro Pocket offers 100% asset-backed banking service and the DeFi space. We tokenize assets and then offer a slew of financial services on top of them. So Open DeFi has recently closed a funding round as well. That's a little about me. Now let's jump right in. When you talk about DeFi in general or decentralized finance, it is said to be like a movement for developing, say, a suite of financial products in a decentralized world. We currently live, in the world of CeFi or centralized finance, where all the financial instruments are kind of built and offered by very large institutions having very centralized control and power. So more specifically, the term decentralized finance or DeFi, it can refer to a movement, that kind of aims to create an open source, permissionless, transparent financial service ecosystem that is available for everybody. It's very inclusive in nature, and it kind of operates without any central authority. The users would, end up maintaining full control of their assets, and their interaction with the ecosystem would be primarily through P2P or a decentralized application, which are dApps essentially, right? So dApps are usually built on the Ethereum network, but with right now, obviously the network fees are really high. But that is a problem for another day today, because we are just talking about introduction to DeFi and like sort of covering all of this. The core benefit of DeFi obviously is easy access, right, to financial services, especially for those who are isolated from the current financial system. So there are so many people. I think 90% of the world don't really have access or are connected to the traditional financial world. Lots of people, just looking at India in general, there are so many people who don't have bank accounts, right? And they are living on a cash only system. So another potential advantage of DeFi is the modular framework that it's built upon. It's interoperable. DeFi applications on public blockchains can potentially create new financial markets, new products, new services. So the core benefit, as I see it, of DeFi is that it's inclusive. So you can imagine if you have, say, $1,000 in your pocket, what are the things that you can do to grow your money or grow your wealth? You can buy some kind of bonds. You can invest in some sort of a stock exchange. You can put it in a savings account where you can earn interest. You can lend it out where you can earn interest. There are quite a few things that you can do with your money for wealth creation as well as wealth preservation. Financial products basically are the kind of instruments specifically made to move and grow your money and essentially the economy in general. They don't just include a term-based savings account, offered by a local bank, but a variety of different financial instruments that include they go from very complex ones like derivatives, securities, interest rate products. Then there are equities. I think everybody's kind of seen it, if not dabbled in equities at some point or the other. Foreign exchange, credit derivatives, commodities. The list is again, it's huge. So financial products can be of different kinds, and that is what DeFi is doing. It's bringing inclusivity to these services and to these products. There are so many platforms kind of doing that, but I digress. So blockchain technology kind of successfully made the currency part decentralized, right? So and now DeFi kind of aims to make the services part decentralized, right, away from the CeFi ecosystem. So DeFi space obviously involves, a lot of moving parts and a lot of a simple currency or an ERC20 token, which would be like an Ethereum-based token, as I had mentioned earlier, that most apps are kind of built on the Ethereum network. So it's not just creation of a token or a currency. DeFi is so much more beyond that. These days, there is a lot of noise around DeFi, but not all for the right reasons, but there are a lot of people who are solving some real problems. So people should sort of pay attention to DeFi and peer in if you're looking in from the outside. Since the last couple of years, as I had mentioned, that there have been a lot of developments in the DeFi space, and we are seeing a lot of promising projects, a lot of Indian promising projects like Unilend, EasyFi. They're doing really well, and even Persistence, Tushar is speaking here today. So people are trying to create a dent in this space, and which is very necessary considering the day and age that we are in, when people are looking for decentralization on, in every niche, right? Decentralization in terms of governance and whatnot. This is the right way to go. So again, I would like to sort of reiterate the advantages of DeFi. Traditional finance relies on institutions such as banks to act as intermediaries and courts, right, to sort of figure out, in case there is a dispute or to provide arbitration. DeFi applications do not need any intermediaries or arbitrators. The code kind of specifies the resolution to every possible dispute, and the users kind of maintain control over their funds at all times. This kind of reduces the cost around providing and using these products and allows for more of a frictionless financial system, if I say. As these new financial systems are deployed on top of blockchain, single points of failures are kind of eliminated. The data is recorded on blockchain. It's spread across nodes, making censorship or potential shutdown of a service due to any kind of discrimination really difficult. So that would be again about inclusivity of that DeFi kind of brings in. Another significant advantage would be that it's an open ecosystem. There is ease of access for individuals and systems that kind of rely on intermediaries, right? So with DeFi, the costs are again very reduced. Low-income individuals can also benefit from broader range of financial services. There is usually there is no threshold for DeFi services. Most of the existing and potential DeFi services involve creation and execution of smart contracts, essentially. But then that is, again, a very broad, separate topic. And I'm just talking here on a very macro level, just to give a brief intro. While a usual contract kind of uses legal terminologies, right? A smart contract is obviously, it's coded. It's something that a computer understands. So now, now that I've talked a little about DeFi, I've talked about the advantages, I would like to cover perhaps what's the difference between DeFi and open banking, because we hear these two terms, kind of used a lot, and they shouldn't be used interchangeably, because open banking is different from, say, decentralized finance. Open banking refers to a banking system where a third-party financial service provider, they kind of give secure access to their financial data through some sort of an API. This kind of enables networking of accounts and data between banks and non-banking financial institutions. Essentially, it allows new types of products and services within the traditional banking system. DeFi, however, proposes an entirely new financial system that is independent of the current infrastructure. DeFi is sometimes also referred to as open finance. So, for example, open banking would allow management of all traditional financial instruments in one application by drawing data from several banks and institutions securely. An example of people who are doing this would be Juno, and I think Nuo also does it on some level. Basically, any kind of neobank, they would be on the side of open banking, right? Decentralized finance, or DeFi, on the other hand, would allow management of entirely new financial instruments and a new way of even interacting with them. So that is something that I wanted to sort of stress upon, that DeFi is not the same thing as open banking. Now, moving on to, it's all not rosy, right? DeFi is new, it's moving fast, but there are its challenges as well. So the challenges kind of, I would say there are 4 or 5 of them at the top of my mind. One would be poor performance, right? Blockchains can be slower than centralized counterparts at times, and this kind of translates to applications built on top of them. So developers of DeFi and DeFi applications kind of need to take these limitations into account and optimize their products accordingly. There is a high risk of user error. So DeFi applications transfer responsibility from the owners, basically goes from that central authority where the power is kind of all centered, to the user. Because these products are deployed on blockchain, the transactions are immutable, right? Bad user experience. So DeFi applications currently require an extra effort on the user's part. For DeFi applications to be be a core element of the global financial system, they must provide a tangible benefit to the user. This is something I think we hear a lot. You need to really solve the problem or solve an itch for the user. It is a cluttered ecosystem right now. There are a lot of platforms. At times there are scams. At times some services, they are not ready yet. So it is a very cluttered ecosystem. But it's kind of, you have to understand that it's also very new, and it's in its infancy, like the blockchain technology in itself. The technology and this sort of DeFi, both of them are in its infancy. And when any kind of sector is very new and it's growing, it's bound to be a little cluttered. So that would be perhaps the challenges in my mind. Talking a little about potential use cases. So there are several use cases. A lot of people have built a lot of platforms on DeFi. Like with Pocket, we've created Open DeFi, which kind of tokenizes real world assets. Right now, we are tokenizing gold and silver. We have done that actually on Tezos, and we are a part of the Tezos ecosystem. So those real world assets are now, not just not only do you get the chance to sort of trade them in secondary markets, these are also fungible. They are more like stable coins. And now with Open DeFi, you get a slew of services. You can get flash loans. You can get a yield on them. You can stake these particular tokenized assets and actually earn a rental on them, which would otherwise be a dead assets, right? So now, a lot about my product. Let me talk about the general potential use cases. There is borrowing and lending, which I think is one of the most obvious ones. Open lending protocols. This is one of the most popular type. I think the popular type of application that is a part of the DeFi ecosystem. Open decentralized borrowing and lending. Right? They have many advantages over the traditional credit system. These include instant transaction settlement, the ability to sort of collateralize digital assets, no credit checks, and potential standardization in the future. Right? So, because these lending services are built on blockchains, they're public blockchains, they minimize the amount of trust required and have the assurance of the cryptographic verification methods. So lending marketplaces on a blockchain reduce, I would say, counterparty risk, make borrowing and lending cheaper, easier, quicker, and more efficient in general. Again, more inclusive as well. Another use case largely would be monetary banking services, as DeFi applications are by definition financial applications. Monetary banking services are an obvious use case. They can use the issuance of stable coins, mortgages, insurance. So as the blockchain industry is kind of maturing, there is an increased focus on the creation of stable coins, right? So, and there are the type of crypto asset that is usually pegged to a real world asset, as you might already know, and they can be transferred digitally, right? So with you can, that is the most obvious example of monetary banking services on DeFi, creation of a stable coin, like we have also done with with tokenizing gold and silver. It's a stable asset. Again, then another use case perhaps would be DEXs, decentralized marketplaces. Some of the crucial DeFi applications are decentralized exchanges. These platforms allow users to trade digital assets without the need of a trusted intermediary or an exchange, basically, to hold their funds, right? You don't have to trust that, okay, Coinbase is not going to lose your money, or any XYZ exchange is not going to lose your money. Coinbase has insurance, I'm aware, but I'm just going to give you, like, I gave you the example that was at the top of my head. The trades are basically made directly between the user wallets with the help of smart contracts, right? So they require much less maintenance work. Decentralized exchanges typically have very low trading fees against centralized exchanges. A good example would be Uniswap. So to kind of sum up, I have just tried to sort of give a very broad introduction to DeFi. To sum up, I would say DeFi kind of boosts the functionality and the reach of money while providing financial system that is more open, more liberal. It is more liberal than ever before. The DeFi market is quite small in relation to the traditional market, but it is expanding at a rapid rate. This creates much hope, obviously, for the financial revolution that supports DeFi and transparency and inclusivity in general. It takes us one step perhaps closer to democratizing the global economy, making money and payments universally accessible. These things should not be, some people should not be left unbanked just because there are certain services that have a threshold. Ultimately, I think why I'm such a proponent of DeFi, it's primarily because of this reason. I think it gives people the freedom of choice, which is immensely important in this day and age. So thank you so much. Sumita, over to you.
That was quite a lot of knowledge transfer and download for us. Thank you, Tarusha. We'll get on to Om next. Om has been waiting. They have a lot of new things happening at Tezos and, of course, with Oro Pocket. Let's hear from Om now. Om, you can turn on your video. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, thank you, Tarusha, for such a nice overview of the entire industry and all the use cases and all the challenges. So, hey guys, I'm Om Malviya. I'm the president at Teos India. Teos India is an Indian organization which promotes and supports the Tezos ecosystem growth in India. And we organize a bunch of activities, developer activities, supporting events such as this, and also partnering with local startups or corporations or companies to help them navigate their way through Tezos. So Tezos, just to give you guys an overview, Tezos is a cryptocurrency and a smart contract-based platform. It's a cryptocurrency first because it is a next iteration of Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can call it as a better programmable money, and it enables all the different bunch of functionalities using concepts of smart contracts, and it has some certain features that makes it unique from other blockchain platforms out there, such as formal verification, which makes sure your smart contracts stay as safe as possible. And second is on-chain governance, and liquid proof of stake, which makes sure that there is not a fixed number of validators, and there is a liquid democracy in terms of governance and amending to new proposals. And third is self-amendment. So using the on-chain governance, Tezos can amend itself in just a matter of a very short amount of period, and it can drop all the friction that usually we have seen during Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum and Ethereum Classic due to off-chain governance scenarios. That was just a brief about Tezos. So today's topic is about entering the DeFi world, and we have been seeing for the last couple of months that this actually the DeFi space it's been there since about a year, since MakerDAO came into the picture, since the Compound protocol came into the picture. But we have seen a really big amount of growth in the last couple of months, and this is a very exciting use case, DeFi, which as Tarusha has mentioned, which puts power back to the users, and enables all the things that you can, most of the things that you can do on centralized finance, and makes them enable on decentralized side. So we are very sure that as we are seeing, Ethereum is leading the charge in the DeFi space, and there are a lot of DeFi projects coming up on Ethereum blockchain. Many of them are, and like ICO times, many of them are real, good ones. Many of them are just going up and down. So this is again, it's just like how the the growth starts in a certain ecosystem. So to talk about DeFi in Teos, just to give you guys an idea, Teos mainnet has been operating for the last 2 years, very stable, and it has gone through 3 self-amendment, which is make it one of the leading proof of stake blockchain out there. And we have seen everything working out smoothly so far, in terms of application, in terms of smart contracts, and in terms of infrastructure and tooling. Teos has developed itself on a very good position. And recently, there are a lot of distributed teams across the world which have built some decentralized exchanges such as Uniswap, which is Dexter. And interesting thing is, most of these contracts are formal verified, which makes them super secure. And you'll keep seeing more, not specifically DeFi, but those projects, which make sense, and which which appeals to the certain user base, and which has a really good use case, keep coming on Tezos. But as I said, it's a decentralized open source platform, so anybody can build whatever they want on it. And that was just a general overview about Tezos. There have been many exciting developments so far, such as National Bank of France using Tezos as their preferred CBDC pilot program. Billions of dollars being tokenized on Tezos. Some really amazing DeFi use cases coming out on top of Tezos. And it is not exciting only for Tezos. It's exciting for entire ecosystem overall. And we have been seeing amazing projects coming out in a whole bunch of different networks. And be it on Ethereum, be it on Cosmos, be it on Tezos. And really exciting, that how things are shaping in this space, and how things are shaping in terms of Indian blockchain ecosystem. And we have been seeing some. I've been also seeing amazing projects coming out in last couple of months, and all of them have been doing really great. So just congratulations to all of them. So yeah. So to conclude my point, that was just a brief overview about Teos India, and what are some of the exciting things happening in Tezos. So as Teos India, we are there always to support any project and give our view and help you in terms of any kind of support for anybody who is looking over to build on Tezos, or anybody who wants to explore Tezos. Just in overview. And over to you, Tushar, for your introduction and the cool things that you've been working on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Terusha. Thank you, Om. So I think I think before kind of going into what we're up to, you just want to quickly introduce myself as well. I think some of the audience seems new. I think I've been on a couple of events organized by InBlocks now, but yeah. So in terms of a quick introduction, like Sumita mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Persistence. Prior to starting Persistence, I was the first employee at Lunex Ventures, which is the crypto arm of a traditional venture capital fund called Golden Gate Ventures, which is based out of Singapore and deploys capital into Southeast Asian startups. They had made an equity investment in a company called Omise. It's a payments company in Thailand, and there was an equity investment in 2017 when Omise ended up doing a token sale. The fund could not participate, and that was kind of the catalyst for the creation of Lunex Ventures. And so I was the first employee, was involved end to end from kind of setting the vision of the fund, fund incorporation, working with lawyers, tax advisors, fund administrators, Monetary Authority of Singapore as the local regulator, and cybersecurity consultants for custody. We onboarded a lot of institutional LPs, institutional investors into the fund. So a couple of publicly listed companies in Japan, the VC arm of a sovereign wealth fund, family offices in Singapore, Southeast Asia, and Western Europe, and then invested in 7 equity deals, managed a portfolio of 8 to 12 tokens at any given time. But and so I'd spent about 10 years in Singapore. But if we look at the quote unquote traditional startup ecosystem in India, there's about, I think, at any given time there's about 25 to 30 unicorns, and India has the third largest number of unicorns now after the US and China. But 80% of the unicorns in India were born after the year 2010. So that's almost 10 to 15 years after companies of similar sizes came about in the US and China. So my hypothesis was that India operates with a bit of a lag. But once it kind of catches on, then things pick up really quickly, as we've seen, and as Om highlighted as well. There's a whole bunch of now Indian startups that are coming about. But I would say I think we can still count them on like 2 hands. I think there's still like less than 10 kind of legitimate teams that can, in my opinion, them, or at least as far as I'm aware or in my knowledge. But again, my thought process was that I had kind of built a global network. As some of you may know, most things in the crypto blockchain space kind of happen in 9 to 10 cities around the world. So in Asia, we have, Shanghai, Beijing, Seoul, in Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, and maybe Bangalore in the future. I think it's picking up. In Europe, we have Berlin and London, and then in the US we have Zug in Switzerland, and in the US we have SF New York. And so I built a global network of the different stakeholders in the industry, whether it's exchanges, other entrepreneurs, fund managers, and essentially decided to kind of move back to India, build a team, and bet on the Indian crypto ecosystem. So that was one kind of hypothesis. The second hypothesis was we were working on kind of finance focused use cases, but a big focus of ours was I think if we look at the industry as a whole, I think what's happening is we're going from what was kind of a quote unquote speculative phase for the industry to a quote unquote value creation phase, where if the industry as a whole does not solve problems for someone in the world, then essentially the industry dies down. It's almost existential at this point. And so the second hypothesis behind my motivation to start Persistence was to see how to solve problems for someone in the world using this technology, and as a byproduct of that, facilitate more capital inflows into the industry. And so what we do at Persistence, the first use case of Persistence, we work with family offices across the major trading hubs in Asia, so Singapore, Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, and Dubai. So we work with commodity traders and trade financiers, and essentially try to solve a few fundamental problems for that industry. I know we're short on time, and I don't want to kind of bore the audience with kind of what we're doing, so I'll just give a 2-minute overview, and then we can kind of jump quickly into questions. But essentially what we do is cover the end-to-end journey for the commodity trading and trade financing industry, and all the way from onboarding trading organizations, onboarding the traders of the trading organizations, doing the relevant compliances, then the marketplace element of matching buyers and sellers, then moving on to trade settlement. Again, because we're focused on cross-border trades, trades for the global markets settle on a T+2, T+3 basis via the Swift ecosystem. We try to do that on an instant basis using stablecoins in the background. And then finally, provide better access to financing, because most trades in the commodity trading market happen on a credit basis, so 30 to 150-day credit terms. The largest corporates, the largest traders have no trouble getting access to short-term business financing, but it's the small to medium-sized trading organizations that have a lot of trouble getting access to financing, especially post the global financial crisis, where the capital adequacy requirements imposed by the regulators in various jurisdictions upon the financial institutions have become so stringent that essentially banks are not able to lend to the little guy, and so essentially we try to create fundamentally new ways of accessing capital for the commodity traders. So that's kind of our first use case. We have a few other use cases that are being built. They're a little bit more futuristic, so we don't publicly speak about them too much. But high level, this is the problem that we're trying to solve. Again, for us, it's super exciting to meet with and speak to different folks trying to solve. I think Tarusha mentioned it beautifully in terms of what are the different things you want to do with your money. You can, you want to invest it, you can spend it as well, you can, buy insurance. And I think, for some of the DeFi enthusiasts in the audience, there's a whole bunch of things that you can try out. But I want to kind of, stop there and kind of open the floor for questions. Sumita, if you have questions, or if there are any questions from the audience.
Right. So how can one actually make his or her way into the DeFi industry, and like how do we actually earn money with it?
I mean, I can take that.
Take that, and then we can come to probably Tarusha and then Om.
So I think when you say, make your way into the DeFi industry, so there's two perspectives, right? So one is you actually, want to work in the industry, and again, I think the strategy for that would be very different from just kind of being a user and generating returns. I think if you want to work in the industry, then I think it's still such a blue ocean. Yeah, I think like we're hiring if anyone wants to, if anyone is interested. But ideally, we want, again, I think especially in the industry, there's a certain kind of an individual that does extremely well, and that individual is typically very curious, typically very hungry to learn, and just has just this curiosity and hunger in multiple aspects. So yeah, I think ideally we're looking for some crypto native folks who have some background in the industry. So that is one. And if I think someone is just looking for generating yields, I would say there are some decent products out there on the borrowing lending side. There's Compound, Aave. I would say I would say even before DeFi, the first thing is just setting up an account on WazirX or one of the kind of fiat on ramps, and just getting exposure to crypto to begin with, and then once you have whatever Bitcoin, Ethereum, then you want to do something with the Bitcoin, Ethereum. You can lend it out, you can you can speculate with it, and you will initially lose some money, but if you stick at it long enough, then hopefully you make some. And again, it's a bit of a rabbit hole. There is no kind of clear path. There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos, Medium blog posts, Twitter, Telegram, Reddit. So a lot of the kind of crypto activity happens on these platforms. It's super nerdy, but it's a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you so much, Tushar. Om, we'll come back to you on the same question.
Yeah, so Tushar rightly said that in order to start with DeFi, first get a little bit exposure to crypto, and you definitely want that to understand what are cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Teos, and once you have that, once you have played with them, like bunch of transactions and stuff like that. So usually what I'm seeing in DeFi is people are going after yields. So if you are into DeFi, you would want, if you have Bitcoin or Ethereum or Tezos, you want to use it as a collateral and generate the most amount of yield as you can, to make as much money as you can. That's what the trend is right now. So, I mean, you can look into the interest rates or whatever the yield is on exchanges side as well, like Binance and all other. They also does lending, borrowing, but that's not DeFi. But then you can see on this compound Aave. So like if you have Bitcoin, there's also wrap Bitcoin and Ethereum, so you can wrap your Bitcoin and then you can put the WBTC or that is called on Tezos, it's TZBTC, and then you can provide liquidity on Uniswap, or you can put it as a collateral to to go long or short on different assets. So, but what's to go? You can do all this kind of things, and a lot of information is available. And to just get a higher level overview, you just have to watch some videos and read some medium blogs. But what's essential here is to understand the risk behind all of this things. So let's, for example, if you are putting your assets as a collateral, you need to be aware about liquidation. That you are sleeping at night and the market crashes and you are totally liquidated, like that crash that happened with MakerDAO. So what I would say is, first try to get exposure to crypto. If you already have exposure to crypto, try to find out some legitimate projects. So there are some bunch of projects which has been here for a good amount of time, and they have because they have seen and they have sort of experience in this industry. It's still a very, as Tushar said, the blue ocean. This industry is developing. So 1 0 to 1 innovation was AMM with Uniswap, and now there are multiple kind of AMMs, automated market makers are coming up. And then in AMM there were different kind of stuff like constant function, logarithmic, and also these things or all this nerdy stuff, or what's happening behind the scenes stuff. This keeps changing. A whole bunch of simulations keep happening, but we don't know what's next for sure. I mean, we cannot be certain what's next, but if you want to try and speculate around this assets, you definitely can. But try to find some legitimate projects. As I said, be aware about the risk that it involves, like liquidations or the volatility of market, and try to create your strategy as that how would you want to go about it. And then after you have, and don't and only when you are when you are trying for the first time, start with, I mean, keep it in mind, and definitely do start with the money you are afford to lose, as we all say, but very less amount of people follow that. And once you, with short amount of money, you have gotten a hang of it, then you can maybe create your strategy or create your creative method about how to dive deeper and make more of it. But again, I would say there are multiple risks. So they are at the end, it's just magic money. In the yield farming or stuff that you are providing liquidity and then farming some new token which are giving $3,000, 3,000% APY. It's just the money out of thin air. Be wary of them and make sure that there is some utility, there is a market for, there is a community for them, there is a demand for it, or in a certain ecosystem, or just because you never know how market could be very volatile in those not very legitimate crypto tokens that came out of thin air and giving you 3,000% APY and stuff like that. So to just conclude it, first get into crypto, try with a very short amount of money in DeFi, understand your risk and all different kind of risks. Check, if at least see if the contracts of the projects are audited or not. This basic stuff, and then go forward and be aware about what's happening in the ecosystem, because every day there is new kind of innovation, every day there is sort of governance happening, contracts are migrating. So if you are once you are going into this rabbit hole, try to be aware about what's happening around this space. That's my opinion.
So we have a final question out here for Tarusha that have you implemented DeFi only with Tezos or with multiple altcoins?
Okay, so the beauty of Open DeFi, I will provide a link. It's opendefi.finance, so you can go out there and check out the white paper. We are actually trying to create some, a protocol which would create value in terms of multiple blockchains. So you can actually move assets from one chain to the other. So usually the problem that different blockchains face is that they don't have assets and then they don't have users. It's like a chicken and egg sort of a problem. With Open DeFi, we are kind of trying to resolve that by ensuring that there is some sort of cross-chain value creation that happens. And we are obviously we are partnered with Tezos, we are partnered with Matic for the same, and we have some wonderful partners in terms of trying to achieve this. But this functionality right now is not live right now. We've just done the first phase of the product, which is tokenizing the real world asset, and we will be going live with the services soon.
All right. So I think we're short of time and we're trying to wind it up now. And hopefully we'll come back next week again with Tezos India, and we're going to get into more of gaming, what's happening in the gaming industry and NFTs. So stay tuned and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much, all the speakers, and thank you, audience, for coming and sharing some time today. So thank you so much and see you soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for calling. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.